Hello guys, so if it's here, hope you're having a wonderful day. If not, sit back, relax and enjoy the video. Now today people, I have a video I was meant to make slightly earlier in the month, but honestly I just completely forgot about it. However, I am here with the analysis of my first tournament on the channel, the YGO Pro Invitational Tournament of January 2021. Now we all mutually agreed and decided that this tournament will be somewhat semi-annual through the year, as I'm not freaking Bill Gates and can keep dishing out chunks of money to the winner and the runners up, but hopefully we'll be back sooner than you think with a second tournament, hopefully. Now in this video I'll be going over my views of the tournament as a whole, as well as statistics of the tournament and player statistics alongside their deck information, etc. So let's begin with how the tournament was set up. We were only allowed 40 cards in our main deck, and our extra deck was entirely up to the person on how many cards they wanted. They could have had it full all the way up to 15 cards, or have no cards. Really and truly, you can have as many cards as you wanted. There was no limit on what you could do with your extra deck. And in terms of bans, we followed the TCG 2020 ban list, and the Shiranui deck was banned because it pisses me off, man. Shit, the amount of times I came up against that deck on Duel Links and lost to it, get that bullshit out of here, man. I'm not having that in my tournament. Anyway, now when it comes to win-loss, a win would give you 3 points, a draw would give you 1 point, and a loss would give you 0 points. We all had our own Yu-Gi-Oh character as our mascots as well. The winner of the tournament would also get a £50 prize, and the runners-up would get £25. But if I came first, I would just give first place prize to second, and if I came second, I would give second place prize to third place. I also offered trophies alongside the cash prize as well. The winner didn't want the trophy, so I was like, okay, cool. That's fine with me. That's absolutely fine. Now, originally there was meant to be 6 players and we'd all duel each other once. However, 2 duelists did end up dropping out, unfortunately. One of them being StickyKeyz, as his power was out, which was a shame because I was really excited to see what deck and what strategy he would bring along with him to the tournament, as I know he's a very strategical, defensive, stally kind of player. And Toxic Gibbs, who actually did manage to play 1 match in the tournament. However, when his second match approached, he did feel unwell and caught a temperature out of the blue, which was a shame, as I was actually really keen to see how he would have dueled in the tournament, as he also had a very good deck. But he only dueled once and lost that duel. So to improvise with the 4 of us, we would all end up dueling each other twice and see who had the most points in the end. So let's move to the finishing positions. As you can see, PrimeChamp finished in first place with 15 points. I finished in second place with 15 points. Sleepy finished in third place with 6 points, and EJ finished in fourth place with 0 points. Now, if you're wondering on how the top 2 was decided, as we both had the same amount of points, I kept track of everyone's life points after a duel, just in case something like this would happen. As we had equal points, it was down to how many life points we had after our duels added up together. In total, PrimeChamp had 35,200 life points in total, and I had 34,950 life points in total. So literally 250 life points split us apart from first and second. And if you're wondering what everyone else's total life points were, Sleepy had 10,800 and EJ had 0, as he lost all of his duels and had no life points to add up. So before we move on to the players analysis, please guys, make sure you subscribe to these absolute alpha duelists. The tournament wouldn't have been able to happen if these guys didn't take part, didn't play, and didn't agree to enter and be amazing participants and players. Honestly, make sure you guys to subscribe, and I'll link all of their socials, being YouTube, Twitter and Twitch, in the description below, so make sure you guys check them out. Now, when going about with our player analysis, I'll basically be going through my review on how they dueled, as well as other stats being how many monsters they summoned, how many cards were set, how many spells and traps were used, how many cards were destroyed and banished altogether, and how many extra deck summons were played. So let's start from the bottom with Electric Jazzcat, or EJ. Now, his mascot was Yuma Tsukumo, and he ended up running with a Gagaga deck focused on Xyz summoning tactics. He used cards such as Gagaga Chow to help him change his monster's levels in order to Xyz summon. He also used Kage Kage, which is vital when going into his rank 4 Xyz monsters. In terms of defensive strategies, he would often stall out his opponents, as well as using cards like New Doria, Dark Hole and Gagaga Bolt to clear the field of any threatening cards whatsoever. He used Swords of Revealing Light to help him add cards to his hand to further help him get monsters out of his extra deck. Go Golem helped with this strategy crucially, as it can't be destroyed by battle once per turn, further allowing him to stack his hand and summon another level 4 monster to overlay with his golem. His duel record is 0 wins, 0 draws and 6 losses. Ouch. Now coming to the juicy part of the dueling statistics, the least amount of turns he had in a duel was 3, which was against PrimeChamp, and the most turns he had was 26, which was against Sleepy. Crazy, I know. This man ended up summoning a total of 22 monsters, which is pretty aggressive despite his defensive strategies that he played. He also set 7 monsters face down, used a whopping total of 16 spell and trap cards. He ended up destroying 8 opponent cards. Now when it came to his extra deck, he had a total of 8 extra deck summons, none of them being fusion, synchro, pendulum or link summons. All 8 of them were XZ summons. Now despite his record shown on paper, he actually dueled pretty well in my opinion. However, I think he just got really unlucky as he made some really good plays in his duels. Like in his first duel, he XZ summoned twice in his first 2 turns, going all out aggressive. I really thought he could have beat me in that duel, and he actually had me a little bit nervous, honestly. I even mentioned it in the stream. But he also got really unlucky with what his opponents played against him as well, especially with SleepySlowbro, who actually countered a lot of his smart plays. But he did make some misplays as well, and one of them being against PrimeChamp, not getting rid of one of his continuous spell cards and got rid of his monster instead. Hopefully though, next tournament EJ will come back for revenge and show us what he can really do. Moving on to 3rd place, we have SleepySlowbro. His mascot was Zane Truesdale. Now despite his mascot, he didn't run a Cyber Dragon deck like we all expected. To be honest, his deck wasn't really themed around any kind of archetype. Instead, his deck was based off of the Saber Force starter deck, which was tweaked to his liking with added spells and trap cards. When it came to his dueling, it was quite out of the ordinary. He had no extra deck but relied heavily on his Cyber Dragon for his opener, which would allow him to get 2 monsters out on his first turn. A lot of his strategies were based off of not having monsters on the field, which allowed him to get his Cyber Dragon out, as well as have his Blade Knight become a 2000 attack beat stick. Cards like Dark Hole allowed his strategy to work really well for him, but overall from his performance, his main tactic was to rely on his powerful traps and spells, which powered up his mediocre seeming monsters. Cards like Magic Cylinder, Dust Tornado, Mystical Space Typhoon, Negate Attack, Limiter Removal, and Fiend with Chain all helped him out in his duels. The main focus of his spells and traps were to prevent attacks from happening to his monsters, as well as clear his opponent's spell and trap zones. Here is his duel record: 2 wins, 0 draws, and 4 losses. When it comes to the amount of turns he had, the least amount was 3, which was against PrimeChamp, and the most amount of turns he had was against EJ, being 26. When it came to his summons, he ended up summoning 19 monsters. He also set 12 monsters and played 19 spell and trap cards. Despite both summons and spell and trap card activations being the same number, 19 is pretty low for monster summons. However, it's a lot for spell and trap cards. This stat further emphasizes my point on his spell and traps being heavily relied on with his strategies. He also destroyed 17 of his opponent's cards, and when it came to his extra deck, he didn't have any summons whatsoever. He was a huge underdog going into the tournament, but there was a feeling of there being a surprise element potentially occurring in the tournament, and we weren't wrong. He made a lot of smart plays and had a lot of counters played, mainly in the duels he won. He honestly did surprise and impress me a lot with his performances, and I think if he learns quickly and gets his hand on a good deck that works well with multiple combos and works well for his strategies, then he could be as dangerous as his mascot Zane Truesdale. Now on to the runners-up of the group, being me, Soda Fizz. My mascot was Aporia, and the deck I chose to use was the Gookie deck, which was based around tactics to swarm the field with monsters in order to special summon from my extra deck, with all Gookie cards in the archetype having the same effect of being able to add a Gookie card from the deck to my hand when they are sent to the graveyard. Pretty much allowed me to choose my hand and moderately build my own perfect hand in a way. The deck overall was really fast paced, and my swarming tactics were aided from cards like Gookie Suplex, which allowed me to special summon another Gookie from my hand. 5 Flint Lady, Brigadier, and a Gookie Headbat also had effects allowing me to extend my plays and go into link summons. The spell card Gookie Rematch also allowed link summons to happen with absolute ease. Despite there being a lack of trap cards for defense, my monster's abilities made up for it, with Topologic Trisbana and Bomber Dragon allowing me to clear my opponent's field if need be. Other link monsters in my extra deck also allowed me to destroy any cards that were threatening too. Access Code Talker was one of those main cards, allowing me to aggressively play by using its effect to increase its attack points to a potential 6,300 while also being able to get rid of any cards of my choice. My duel record was 5 wins, 0 draws, and 1 loss. The least amount of turns I had was 5, which was against both SleepySlowbro and PrimeChamp, and the most amount of turns I had was 10, which was in my opening game against EJ. So for my summons, believe it or not, I had 58 summons and 0 monsters set. I think these 2 stats alone prove how aggressive my deck was and how much I swarmed the field. For spell and traps, I only ended up using 16 and I destroyed 17 cards in total. I had a total of 26 extra deck summons, no fusion, no synchro, no pendulum summons, only 3 were XZ summons and 23 were link summons. I think that also emphasizes how my card effect combos allowed me to link summon so easily. So for my overall performance, I did a lot better than I thought, to be honest. I obviously did practice different combos with each extra deck monster I had in order to master my plays and the deck itself. I usually get nervous with making misplays with cards that I don't often use, and this deck was a prime example, but luckily I was well prepared. And one thing that made me feel like I overperformed my expectations was beating PrimeChamp because he was the favourite to win. In our first duel, he did set up his field, and I knew if I let him keep his cards out, he would have total and complete control of the duel, which I couldn't let happen. So I made sure to play the right cards to stop his effects from activating and his plans succeeding. However, in the duel I lost, I made the same error multiple times, which was attacking his Chocolate Magician girl. And the reason being is that I didn't know its effect would redirect my attack. I knew it would increase attack points of a spellcaster, but I didn't know it would redirect my attack. So I guess that was my fault. I should have learned the second time I went for the attack, which was just foolish of me. Not to say that I would have won, no, not at all, because PrimeChamp also countered other plays that I made with other cards that he had in that duel. So yeah, hopefully I can do better in the next tournament we do, whether it be with the same deck or something different. Now last but certainly not least is the winner of the tournament, PrimeChamp. His mascot was an old school fan favourite Yami-Yugi and ended up running a Dark Magician deck. His strategies were based on special summoning Dark Magician on the field through card effects and excavating his deck to add the cards he needed to his hand, while also having complete control of the field via the spell Dark Magic Circle, which would banish cards whenever he special summons a Dark Magician. This combo would prove to be absolutely deadly, especially if he was going first. His Dark Magician would also be aided by cards like Dark Magician Girl, who would get a power up boost, and Chocolate Magician Girl practically being his line of defense when targeted with attacks. With Faithful Servant at his disposal, he could also dictate which cards he can draw from the top of his deck. This, added with the effect of Magician Navigation, would practically allow him to special summon Dark Magician he excavated from his deck. With these effects in play, he could easily swarm the field with 2500 attack Beat Sticks and activate the effect of Dark Magical Circle, while also using Dark Burning Magic, which is pretty much a broken Reigeki. Really and truly. He also had cards like Dark Magic Fusion and Eye of Timaeus to bring out monsters from his extra deck. His duel record was 5 wins, 0 draws, and 1 loss. The least amount of turns he had was 3, which was against Sleepy and EJ. However, the most amount of turns he had was 8, which was against me. He summoned 24 monsters, which is solid considering the amount of turns he had in his duels. He didn't set any monsters but activated 21 spell and traps, which were all vital to his strategy. He destroyed 14 cards in total and had 3 extra deck summons, none being Synchro, XZ, Pendulum, or Link summons. All 3 were fusion summons. PrimeChamp had a great overall performance and won quite quickly in his duels, especially being able to execute his strategy with setting up the back row and swarming with Dark Magician monsters. And that's the thing with decks that work like mine and his. When you have effects that can recycle your hand and pretty much choose what you want to add to your hand, then you have a recipe for victory. Unfortunately for him, he didn't have many extra deck summons, which would have been very interesting to see. And he didn't end up going flawless like everyone expected him to. I mean, I doubt he thought that himself because he's not a cocky guy at all. But overall, well done to PrimeChamp for winning. And well done to everyone else who took part and did their best to play. I can't wait for round 2 of this tournament. And hopefully this time we will have a full roster of 6 players to play. Thank you so much for watching. If you did end up enjoying this little spin-off video, then please hit the like button below. It will be greatly appreciated, especially as this took quite a while to put together and to conduct. But hey, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed going through the whole tournament and just analyzing everything. But yeah, feel free to subscribe and comment down below what you thought about the analysis, and feel free to grab yourself some Fizzy Family merch. Once again, thank you guys ever so much for watching. I love you all. Stay safe and have a wonderful day.